I'm Jeannie. Welcome to Cakes and Aprons. Today we will go back to 1932 when To Kill a Mockingbird, a novel from the 1960s, takes place. We will make the Lane cake. This cake is mentioned a few times in this book. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Scout says, Miss Maudie Atkinson baked a Lane cake so low it was shiny, it made me tight. That's right. Tight means buzzed in this case. It has a custard filling with nuts, fruit, coconut, and bourbon. So Miss Maudie must have used a lot of bourbon. Lane cake has been a Southern tradition for well over 100 years since it was first featured in a cookbook in 1898. This cookbook was written by Emma Rylander Lane of Clayton, Alabama. Her prize cake refers to a blue ribbon won at the county fair in Columbus, Georgia. However, it is Alabama that claims this cake. Lane cake, as it happens, is the state cake of Alabama. So this was a perfect choice for the wise character Miss Maudie to make in the fictional town of Alabama in 1932. Also, this cake was a good choice because it takes a lot of time, and time was one thing people had in the Depression. If you could afford the ingredients or find the ingredients, you probably had enough time to make it. There was not a lot of work and not a lot to do in the Great Depression. The recipe that we'll be making today is very similar to the one that Scout describes in To Kill a Mockingbird. It is from a 1983 book called the Southern Heritage Cakes Cookbook. This cake will take a while to make and is best stretched out into smaller periods of time over a couple of days. A perfect activity on a lazy summer day like it is for me today. So how did the people of the 1930s spend their time when there was not a lot of money to spend? In 1932, when To Kill a Mockingbird takes place, people had to find creative ways to entertain themselves. In 1932, radio was the most popular form of entertainment. Over the decade of the 1930s, the number of American households with radios grew from roughly 40 to 83%. Every week, Americans tuned in to follow shows that featured masked vigilantes like the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet. Secondly, card games and board games were popular. Monopoly came out in 1935. Also, contests like dance contests were popular during this time, either to watch or take part in, and building and riding soapbox derby car races became the craze in the mid-1930s.
Enthusiasm that knows no bounds. That's the spirit of young America. Every spring, in thousands of attics, garages, and basements throughout the country, thousands of young Americans set to work, building their entries for the All-American Soapbox Derby. The place? Akron, Ohio. The time? The morning of August 16th. The excitement? The 1936 All-American and International Soapbox Derby Finals.
Going to the talking picture shows was another popular activity. Movies were a great escape from the Depression. The average price of a movie ticket dropped from 30 cents in 1929 to 23 cents in 1931. If you had a job of any kind, setting aside $1 to take the family to the movies was an essential escape from the drudgery of life. Movies, like 1934's It Happened One Night, is a great example of an escape. It's about a poor as dirt reporter who meets a wealthy heiress, and they comically fall in love. Overall, families in the Great Depression era entertain themselves with activities that emphasize creativity, resourcefulness, and community involvement. And now it's time to get on the apron and start baking. For this recipe, you will need softened butter, sugar, cake flour, baking powder, salt, milk, vanilla extract, and 8 eggs. I have linked the entire recipe below. Then you grease and flour 3 9-inch cake pans and set the oven for 375. First, you cream your butter and your sugar together, and then sift all your dry ingredients together. Next, add flour mixture to cream to mixture, alternating with the milk, beginning and ending with flour mixture. After everything is blended in together with the flour and then the milk, you will add your vanilla. Then you separate the egg yolks and the egg whites, and you do this until you have all eggs separated. Put your egg yolks in the fridge, and you blend your egg whites until soft peaks form. Finally, scoop out a bit at a time of your egg whites. I end up putting them all in, but however you do it, just make sure you don't mix it too hard. Just fold them in gently until the cake mix is all blended together. Finally, you pour your cake batter into your 3 cake pans. I ended up adding some parchment paper on the bottom just to make sure that mine came out beautifully. And I also took time to eyeball these carefully to make sure that I made each cake pan have about as even amount as I possibly could. Put cake pans in your preheated oven and bake for 20 minutes. Cool completely before taking them out. Entire kitchen will smell like sugar.
Ah, excuse me, I smell cake. When will it be done?
Oh, probably tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
And now it's time to make your filling. You will need your 8 egg yolks, sugar, half a cup of butter, maraschino cherries finely chopped, chopped pecans, raisins, coconut, and bourbon. And this recipe was changed from 2 tablespoons to 1/3 of a cup. So that's what I did. Custard filling is made on stovetop. You combine the egg yolk, sugar, and butter in a 2-quart saucepan. Cook over medium heat, stirring consistently for about 20 minutes or until thickened. Remove from heat and stir in the remaining ingredients. I ended up toasting my pecans for about 7 minutes in the oven. But let everything cool before you spread on the cake. It's so delicious, you'll actually want to eat the whole thing up. I would suggest at least trying it. This custard will seep into your cake. So allow your cake to sit with this filling in it for about a day. I would suggest just putting it aside, wrapping it up, and finishing the frosting tomorrow. Now you can do an activity of low cost shared in the 1930s, as in reading a book from the library.
Hello? It's Mr. Mousy here again. Just still smelling the cake. When will it be done?
I don't know. It'll take a while.
Okay.
After you are done letting your cake rest, you make this boiled white frosting. It took me a few times to get it right, so in the link below you will see this recipe and my notes on how to make sure yours will turn out splendidly. Now we are at the final step of frosting the cake. I was so excited because it took me a few times to do this to get the right consistency. I saved some of the filling and put that on top, and then I added some of my extra pecans.
Can you blame that girl and lover if they say her?
And now we get to try the Lane cake. This cake is so beautiful. You can see why it won blue ribbons at the country fair and why it is also a lot of people's favorite holiday cake. Look at the layers. It's a soft chiffon cake with the pudding and the nuts and the berries all inside. I'm very excited to taste this. All right, let's see. That is like nothing I've ever tasted before. It's like a coconut cake, a little bit of a fruit cake, but the chiffon cake is so moist and wonderful. I love it. I am so happy that I persevered and made this cake and took my time to do it. And I guess I better go share this cake with my new friend Mousy. All right, friends. Thank you so much for coming to Cakes and Aprons. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.